Hello, Patriots, and welcome back to the Patriot Dad channel, where we can discuss current events and modern issues, all while keeping it as real as possible. Today, we're going to be doing a reaction to last night's interview on CNN between Dana Bash, Kamala Harris, and Tim Walz. I don't know what y'all's thoughts are about this. I've heard not great things about the performance, but I've also heard the sycophants on X that are propagandists for the Harris campaign just touting that this was the best interview ever. So you know what? We're going to watch it and react to it ourselves. It's not all that long, which is kind of a criticism already. We've seen Trump do town halls, speeches, and interviews that last an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours. The guy just doesn't stop. And here we have an 18-minute edited, pre-recorded interview. The real question is, why wasn't this interview done live? I don't know. What do you think? Maybe leave a comment down below and let us know your thoughts. But let's get it pulled up so we can get right into it. Oh, this should be fun.
Madam Vice President, Governor Walz, thank you so much for sitting down with me and bringing the bus. The bus tour is well underway here in Georgia.
What kind of weird comment is that? Like, thanks for bringing your bus? Okay, Dana.
You have less time to make your case to voters than any candidate in modern American history.
But yeah, she was installed at the very last minute, after the primary season was already over, having received no votes. Protect democracy.
The voters are really eager to hear what your plans are. If you are elected, what would you
Hang on, we'll check up on that in just a minute.
do on day one in the White House?
Well, there are a number of things. I will tell you, first and foremost, one of my highest priorities is to do what we can to support and strengthen the middle class. What
are you doing now? You're in the administration now.
I look at the aspirations, the goals, the ambitions of the American people, I think that people are ready for a new way forward.
A new way? Are you kidding me? How many of the last 20 years have Democrats been in power? Let's look back at it, shall we? We have Biden-Harris, that's 4 years. Then we had Trump-Pence, that was 4, so 4 out of the last 8. Then before that was 2 terms of Obama, so that was 8. So we're at 12 out of the last 16 years has been Democrats. What do you mean? Let's hear that again.
That people are ready for a new way forward.
Guys, 12 out of the last 16 years has been your party. What do you mean, new way forward? I guess more communist? Maybe.
In a way that generations of Americans have been fueled by hope and by optimism. I think, sadly, in the last decade, we have had in the former president someone who has really been pushing an agenda and an environment that is about diminishing the character and the strength of who we are as Americans, really dividing our nation. And I think
this is a whole bunch of word salad, folks. What do you mean? What do you mean? A decade includes the last 2 years of Obama. So you have a problem with him too? But now you're saying it's all the former president's fault, diminishing our character overseas. Obama wasn't respected because he drew a red line in the sand and then backpedaled. You know who didn't have any new wars or conflicts start under his presidency? Trump. That was a nice change.
people are ready to turn the page on that.
So what would you do day one?
Day one, it's going to be about, one, implementing my plan for what I call an opportunity economy. I've already laid out a number of proposals in that regard, which include
You have? Where?
what we're going to do to bring down the cost of everyday goods, what we're going to do to invest in America's small businesses, what we're going to do to invest in families.
So the government, you and me, our money, or the printed money, because we all know they don't really need our money, they're going to give it to businesses of their choice. And then they're going to tell other businesses what they can charge for products. And this is an opportunity economy. Price controls lead to shortages and starvation. Historically, every time they're tried, they fail miserably. That's your plan? I'm curious. Nope. Still no platform. That's awkward. I thought you said you laid out these policy positions. Where? Because this is what a campaign website normally looks like. Look, platform. What? I wonder what his policies are. Let's click it. Oh, look, Agenda 47, not Project 2025. Where's your policies? Where are they, Kamala?
For example, extending the child tax credit to $6,000 for families for the
Again, stealing ideas. Trump Vance said 5,000. Now they're like, oh, we're going to make it 6. We'll take your 5-minute abs and we'll make them 4-minute abs.
First year of their child's life, to help them buy a car seat, to help them buy baby clothes, a crib. There's the work that we're going to do that is about investing in the American family around affordable housing, a big issue in our country right now. So there are a number of things on day one.
That's all on day one? Day one, you're going to do all that.
What about you?
Well, I'm excited about this agenda, too. As I said, the idea of inspiring America to what
What agenda? Where is it? Other than the Communist Manifesto, where is it?
can be. And I think many of these things that the vice president's proposing are things that we share in values. And the child tax credit is one we know that reduces childhood poverty by 1/3. We did it.
And in his state, he has unlimited abortion, and teachers in Minnesota will be required to affirm CRT and transgender ideologies. It will soon require teachers to address trans-related students by their stated gender ideology and to embrace controversial ideologies on race. Permanent rules related to licensing and academic standards go into effect July 1st, 2025. Please tell me how you're excited for this, Mr. Walz. That's crazy.
In Minnesota, to have a federal partner in this, unbelievable, I think, in the impact that we can make.
You talked about, you call it the opportunity economy. You are well aware that right now many Americans are struggling. There's a crisis of affordability.
And the Inflation Reduction Act didn't help that.
One of your campaign themes is we're not going back. But I wonder what you say to voters who do want to go back when it comes to the economy specifically, because their groceries were less expensive, housing was more affordable when Donald Trump was president.
Well, let's start with the fact that when Joe Biden and I came in office, during the height of a pandemic, we saw over 10 million jobs were lost. Literally, we were all tracking the numbers. Hundreds of people a day were dying because of COVID.
So we're going to not take any responsibility for the economy at all, even though you definitely at least were a contributor to the inflation getting a little more out of control than it could have. I'm not saying Trump's an angel on this one. He spent way too much money during the COVID response. His actions during the COVID response were also less than ideal. But then when you come into office and pass the infrastructure bill, the Inflation Reduction Act, most of which was green policy agenda items, not anything that you named it after, how do you not take some responsibility?
The economy had crashed, in large part all of that because of mismanagement by Donald Trump of that crisis. When we came in, our highest priority was to do what we could to rescue America. And today, we know that we have inflation at under 3%. A lot of our policies have led to the reality that America recovered faster than any wealthy nation around the world. But
a lot of that also had to do with the fact that the federal government had very little to do with some of the controls put into place, because a lot of the states like South Dakota, Florida, and others either never locked down or did not lock down for very long. Then you had countries like those in Europe where they stayed locked down much longer, or China that stayed locked down much longer. It's weird that when you keep your economy locked down longer, it takes you longer to recover.
you are right. Prices, in particular for groceries, are still too high. The American people know it, I know it, which is why my agenda includes what we need to do to bring down the price of groceries. For example, dealing with an issue like price gouging, what we need to do to extend the child tax credit to help young families be able to take care of their children in their most formative years. What we need.
You know what's going to happen to the supply of any good that you put price controls on? It's going to vanish. The market sets the price. You call price gouging, sure, there might be a few outliers where you get some companies taking advantage. You see it a lot around times of hurricanes when the cost of fuel and the cost of food goes way up. Sure, I'll give you that. But you know what most of it is? Just the cost of life going up under a lot of government regulation. Ground beef, $5, 80-20, or more. Eggs, more expensive. Everything, more expensive. Chicken, all of it. Real protein is getting so expensive that it's going to become inaccessible to the average person. And then they're going to try and tell you to eat crickets, and they're going to try and tell you to eat Beyond Meat and fake meat and lab meat and all these things that aren't real protein. And then people are going to keep being sick, and their health is going to decline, and they're going to become pharma patients for the rest of their lives.
To do to bring down the cost of housing. My proposal includes what would be a tax credit of $25,000 for first-time home buyers.
Cost of properties are going to go up at least 50 because you know what? That's 25,000 down payment. That's a leveraged amount. 20% down. That means that represents an additional $125,000 worth of borrowing.
So they can just have enough to put a down payment on a home, which is part of the American dream and their aspiration, but do it in a way that allows them to actually get on the path to achieving that goal and that dream.
So you have been vice president for 3.5 years.
Yeah.
Also, what happened the last time that the Democrats got involved and tried to force the American dream on everyone? Do you remember 2008 by any chance when we were like, oh, we must give everybody housing, and then they couldn't afford to pay for it, and then the whole housing market and nearly the entire global economy collapsed? What do you think is going to happen this time, folks?
The steps that you're talking about now, why haven't you done them already?
Well, first of
Decent question.
all, we had to recover as an economy, and we have done that. I'm very proud of the work that we have done that has brought inflation down to less
How's the border doing?
than 3%. The work that we have done to cap the cost of
Also, guys, inflation being 3% is still 50% higher than target, and that is an annualized compounding effect. 3% on top of the previous years, like 6% on top of the previous years, like 9% on top of the previous year. Guys, in the last 3.5 years, we've had over 30% inflation. CPI numbers are all crap. When they put them out, they just adjust the weightings and change what's in the basket of goods so that it looks better than it actually is. But if you look at the McChicken, price went from $1.29 to $3.89, a 201.6% increase. Big Mac is up 87%. 10 McNuggets is up 68%. Guys, they say that the prices are coming down. No, when you have a 200% price increase, an improvement of like 10%, not that impressive. Everyone's still going broke trying to buy food.
insulin at $35 a month for seniors. Donald Trump said he was going to do a number of things, including allowing Medicare to negotiate drug prices. Never happened. We did it. So now, as I travel in the state of Georgia and around our country, the number of seniors that have benefited, I was in Nevada recently, a grandmother who showed me her receipts. And before we capped the cost of insulin for seniors at $35 a month, she was paying hundreds of dollars, up to thousands of dollars a month for her insulin. She's not.
Is she a type 1 diabetic or a type 2? First question. Second question, if type 2, have they adjusted their eating habits or weight? If type 1, sure. How about we allow more people to make insulin? Then there will be competition, and then you won't have to try and control the price.
Doing that
So
any
you
longer.
maintain Bidenomics is a success.
I maintain that when we do the work of bringing down prescription medication for the American people, including capping the cost of the annual cost of prescription medication for seniors at $2,000, when we do what we did in the first year of being in office to extend the child tax credit so that we cut child poverty in America by over 50%, when we do what we have done to invest in the American people and bringing manufacturing back to the United States so that we created over 800,000 new manufacturing jobs, bringing business back to America, what we have done to improve the supply chain so we're not relying on foreign governments to supply American families with their basic needs.
We're still relying on them for almost everything. It's not really changing either.
I'll say that that's good work. There's more to do, but that's good work.
I want to get some clarity on where you stand on some key policy issues. Energy is a big one. When you were in Congress, you supported the Green New Deal. And in 2019, you said, quote, "There is no question I'm in favor of banning fracking." Fracking, as you know, is a pretty big issue, particularly in your must-win state of Pennsylvania.
Sure.
Yeah, kind of is. Big energy state between coal and fracking.
Do you still want to ban fracking?
No, and I made that clear on the debate stage in 2020, that I would not ban fracking. As vice president, I did not ban fracking. As president, I will not ban fracking.
So, okay. So Green New Deal, yes, but not ban frack. Okay, fair enough.
2019, I believe, at a town hall, you said you were asked, would you commit to implementing a federal ban on fracking on your first day in office? And you said, there's no question I'm in favor of banning fracking. So yes. So it changed in that campaign?
In 2020, I made very clear where I stand. We are in 2024, and I've not changed that position, nor will I going forward. I kept my word, and I will keep my word.
What
I'm sorry, 2019, you said ban fracking. 2020, you said no ban fracking. 2024, still no ban fracking. You never changed your policy and you kept your word. Okay, yes.
Made you change that position at the time?
Well, let's be clear. My values have not changed.
Anytime somebody says, let's be clear, they're probably hiding something.
I believe it is very important that we take seriously what we must do to guard against what is a clear crisis in terms of the climate. And to do that, we can do what we have accomplished thus far. The Inflation Reduction Act, what we have done to...
Oh, so now we're going to admit that the Inflation Reduction Act was actually more about the Green New Deal than it was about reducing inflation.
Invest, by my calculation, over probably $1 trillion over the next 10 years, investing in a clean energy economy. What we've already done, creating over 300,000 new clean energy jobs. That tells me, from my experience as vice president, we can do it without banning fracking. In fact, Dana, I cast the tie-breaking vote that...
That's right, you own it.
...actually increased leases for fracking
Yeah.
as vice president. So I'm very clear about where I stand.
And was there some policy or scientific data that you saw that you said, oh, okay, I get it now?
What I have seen is that we can grow and we can increase a...
I got to give some credit to Dana that she's pushing this question pretty hard, and it's interesting to see how Kamala responds. Kamala? I don't know.
...thriving clean energy economy without banning fracking.
Okay. Another issue, big one, is immigration. As vice president, you were tasked with addressing the root causes of migration in southern countries and
Northern part of Central America.
the northern part
Yeah.
of Central America.
They have identified people from over 100 countries of origin crossing our southern border. So she only was focusing on the northern part of South America? I don't think there's that many countries there.
That deals with, that affects the southern border of the U.S.
In fact, I know there isn't.
During the Biden-Harris administration, there were record numbers of illegal border crossings. Why did the Biden-Harris administration wait 3.5 years to implement sweeping asylum restrictions?
Well, first of all, the root cause...
Well, Dana, that's because we had an election coming up, and we don't like to actually fix things. We just like to run on things. And guys, don't get twisted. I understand both sides do this. This is not a purely Democrat problem. This is a politician problem that we have in these United States. We always get pandered to and lied to around election season, and then things tend to not really change at all for either party.
Walz's work that I did as vice president, that I was asked to do by the president, has actually resulted in a number of benefits, including historic investments by American businesses in that region. The number of immigrants coming from that region has actually reduced since we began that work. But
maybe from that region, but we have a lot of people coming over from Asia, Europe, Africa. I don't think they're coming down from those areas.
I will say this, that Joe Biden and I and our administration worked with members of the United States Congress on an immigration issue that is very significant to the American people and to our security, which is the border. And through bipartisan work, including some of the most conservative members of the United States Congress, a bill was crafted, which we supported, which I support. And Donald Trump got word of this bill that would have contributed to securing our border, and because he believes that it would not have helped him politically.
He wasn't in office. Like, what are we even talking about? You're saying that the people that were in the minority had more control than the party in the majority. Not to mention, guys, the fact that they name it the border bill does not mean it's about the border. Just like the Inflation Reduction Act. She just talked about $1 trillion in spending to fight climate change as part of the Inflation Reduction Act. And the infrastructure bill was the same way. I guarantee you that the immigration bill had a lot of other stuff in it that had no business being in it that probably caused people to vote against it, as you tend to get with a lot of bills, where they name them in a disingenuous manner.
He told his folks in Congress, don't put it forward. He killed the bill. A border security bill that would have put 1,500 more agents on the border. And let me tell you something, the Border Patrol endorsed the bill. And I'm sure in large part because they knew they were working around the clock.
The Border Patrol officers or the Border Patrol union?
1,500 more agents would help them. That bill would have allowed us to increase seizures of fentanyl. Ask any community in America that has been devastated by fentanyl what passing that bill would have done to address their concern and a pain that they've experienced.
So you would push that legislation again. I just want to
Not
ask
only
about
push it, I will make sure that it comes to my desk and I would sign it.
just one other question about something that you said in 2019 when you first ran. There was a debate you raised
I already knew that we needed to win the House and the Senate, but guys, it's really important.
your hand when asked whether or not the border should be decriminalized. Do you still believe that?
I believe there should be consequence. We have laws that have to be followed and enforced that address and deal with people who cross our border.
Yeah, it's a criminal offense. That's how you deal with it. You make sure they get punished for violating the law. That's a criminal offense. What else are you going to do? And do what you just said in the crazy word salad.
Illegally, and there should be consequence. And let's be clear, in this race,
Stop telling me, let's be clear.
I'm the only person who has prosecuted transnational criminal organizations who
And kept people in prison past the end of their term to use as effectively slave labor to fight fires. You also withheld evidence from defense attorneys that may have exonerated their clients. Yeah, good job, prosecutor. You imprisoned a ton of people for weed. Good. You know what? Here. Good job.
trafficking guns, drugs, and human beings. I'm the only person in this race who actually served a border state as Attorney General to enforce our laws, and I would enforce our laws as president going forward. I
I don't believe you.
recognize the problem.
Generally speaking, how should voters look at some of the changes that you've made, that you've explained some of here in your policy? Is it because you have more experience?
She keeps being accused of changing her policy, and Kamala keeps saying she hasn't changed her policies. Interesting choice, Dana.
Now and you've learned more about the information? Is it because you were running for president in a Democratic primary? And should they,
Whoa, hang on. What did you just say?
because you were running for president in a Democratic primary?
There was no primary for Kamala this time. That didn't happen. Are we just manifesting that into existence? What are you talking about, Dana? She was installed.
And should they feel comfortable and confident that what you're saying now is going to be your policy moving forward?
Dana, I think the most important and most significant aspect of my policy perspective and decisions is my values have not changed.
Are you sure about that? Are you sure about that?
You mentioned the Green New Deal. I have always believed, and I have worked on it, that the climate crisis is real.
Oh, guys, check it out. From 1898 to 2017, look how far the levels of the sea have risen. It's so dangerous. Guys, we need to do something. Spend trillions. Just sacrifice all the, just get rid everything. Throw the whole book at it, guys. Get out of here with that.
That it is an urgent matter to which we should apply metrics that include holding ourselves to deadlines around time.
You mean like 1898 to 2017, like 130 years, like ish, rough math, like that kind of time frame? We can give ourselves another 130 years to fight sea level rise? That seems fair, right?
We did that with the Inflation Reduction Act. We have set goals for the United States of America and by extension the globe around
What does that have to do with inflation, lady?
when we should meet certain standards for reduction of greenhouse gas emissions, as an example. That value has not changed. My value around what we need to do to secure our border, that value has not changed. I
Wow.
spent 2 terms as the Attorney General of California prosecuting transnational criminal organizations, violations of American laws regarding the illegal passage of guns, drugs, and human
By the way, the table thing, not a good look.
beings across our border. My values have not changed. So that is the reality of it. In 4 years of being vice president, I'll tell you, one of the aspects to your point is traveling the country extensively. I mean, I'm here in Georgia. I think somebody told me 17 times since I've been vice president in Georgia alone. I believe it is important to build consensus.
What does that even mean? Y'all hate people that disagree with you. What consensus are you trying to build? Consensus on climate change? Consensus on the COVID origins? Consensus on vaccines? Consensus on price controls? Starvation? Like, what are we trying to bring consensus about? That you did an awful job as the borders are? I think we have consensus on that, right?
And it is important to find a common place of understanding of where we can actually solve problems.
On that note,
What did that even mean? Like the word salad, guys. The word salad is crazy with this.
you had a lot of Republican speakers at the convention. Will you appoint a Republican to your cabinet?
Yes, I would.
Anyone
Yes,
in
I
mind?
would. No one
Yeah, probably like Mitt Romney, one of those Republicans.
in particular in mind. We got 68 days to go with this election, so I'm not putting the cart before the horse, but I would. I think it's really important.
It's going to be a rhino.
I have spent my career inviting diversity of opinion. I think it's important to have people at the table when some of the most important decisions are being made that have different views, different experiences. And I think it would be to the benefit of the American public to have a member of my cabinet who was a Republican.
I want
Interesting.
to ask you about your opponent, Donald Trump.
Okay.
I
Hang on. Let's go back to that.
want to ask you about your opponent, Donald Trump.
Okay.
What a weird shot. The table is so tall, it's above the level of her elbows. And she's in the back. Like the framing of this is odd. The lighting is terrible. She's framed in the background. The table is big, making her look small. Governor Walz is taller than she is, making her look even smaller. Dana is actually taller than she is. She looks like a kid at the adults table. It's not a good look, CNN. Like, what were you doing framing it like this? Are you setting her up to fail too? Because Biden got set up to fail at the first debate. Interesting choice.
I was a little bit surprised. People might be surprised to hear that you have never interacted with him, met him face to face. That's going to change soon. But what I want to ask you about is what he said last month. He suggested that you happened to turn black recently for political purposes, questioning a core part
Well, she did run the entire time as the first Indian American everything, so can't really blame him on that one. And he didn't mean it literally. God.
of your identity.
Yeah.
Any
Same old tired playbook. Next question, please.
You can tell it was pre-recorded because that Chiron update happened as she was saying it.
That's it?
That's it.
Okay. Let's talk about some foreign policy issues that would be on your plate if you become commander-in-chief. President Biden has tried unsuccessfully to end the war between Israel and Hamas in Gaza. He's been doing
Guys, this topic is a real radioactive one for Democrats because they have supporters on both sides of this conflict that are both very upset with their position. The Israeli side does not like the fact that they take the Palestinians' side. The Palestinian protesters don't like the fact that they take the Israeli side. Guys, this is a lose-lose topic for the Democrats.
it for months and months, along with you. Would you do anything differently? For example, would you withhold some U.S. weapons shipments to Israel? That's what a lot of people on the progressive left want you to do.
Let me be very clear. I'm
Not again. Please stop being very clear.
unequivocal and unwavering in my commitment to Israel's defense and its ability to defend itself. And that's not going to change. But
Yeah, but the major criticism is that they are being accused of no longer being defensive but offensive. So what does that even mean?
let's take a step back. October 7, 1,200
Pandering to the one side. Now we're going to see how they go pander to the other in the same answer.
people were massacred. Many young people who were simply attending a music festival. Women were horribly raped. As I said then, I say today, Israel has a right to defend itself. We would. And how it does so matters. Far too many innocent Palestinians have been killed. And we have got to get a deal done. And far too many innocent Palestinians have been killed. And we have got to get a deal done. We were in Doha. We have to get a deal done. This war must end.
In the meantime-
And we must get a deal that is about getting the hostages out I've
Yeah, there's still hostages, folks. Been almost a year.
met with the families of the American hostages. Let's get the hostages out. Let's get the ceasefire done.
But no change in policy in terms of arms and so forth.
No, we have to get a deal done.
I feel like she looks right now. How does that answer her question? So no change in policy. It hasn't worked in almost a year. We're not going to change the policy, and yet we need to get the deal done. How are you going to negotiate that? Do you know the art of the deal by any chance?
Anna, we have to get a deal done. When you look at
Also, manifesting that shit into existence is not going to help anybody. What do you mean? We got to get the deal. We got to get the deal done. We got to do it. How?
the significance of this to the families, to the people who are living in that region, a deal is not only the right thing to do to end this war, but will unlock so much of what must happen next. I remain committed since I've been on October 8 to what we must do to work toward a two-state solution, where
Huh? How is that answer obvious?
Israel is secure, and in equal measure, the Palestinians have security and self-determination and dignity.
Governor Walz, the country is just starting to get to know you. I want to ask.
No. We know him. He's a governor of Minnesota that was fine watching his state burn during 2020. His wife opened the window so that they could smell the tire smoke. He's a communist. He's pushing changes in his state that are going to force teachers to affirm the LGBTQAAIP plus propaganda agenda or face licensing issues. We know this guy enough. He lied about being command sergeant major. He never finished the training. He was not in long enough to retain the rank when he left the service. He continues to reference himself. He uses the badge and icon of a command sergeant major on his challenge coin and elsewhere. We know this guy well enough.
Ask you a question about how you've described your service in the National Guard. You said that you carried weapons
In fact, I'm going to include in the links for this video, I'm going to include a link to Angry Cops' video where he did a breakdown on this issue, talked to multiple CSMs and others about this situation, about the timeframes that are required, and everything related to this. So I've seen that video. I encourage you to watch it. So if you need to, stop this video, go watch that one and come back, and then we'll listen to his answer together. Okay, are you back? Okay, let's watch his answer.
in war, but you have never deployed actually in a war zone. A campaign official
I mean, Italy's pretty rough, right?
said that you misspoke. Did you?
Well, first of all, I'm incredibly proud. I've done 24 years of wearing the uniform of this country. Equally proud of my service in a public school classroom, whether it's Congress or the governor. My record speaks for itself, but I think people are coming to get to know me. I speak like they do. I speak candidly. I wear my emotions on my sleeves, and I speak especially passionately about our children being shot in schools and around guns. So I think people know me. They know who I am. They know where my heart is. And again, my record has been out there for over 40 years to speak for itself.
So are we going to start looking into SSRIs and putting all of our kids on a bunch of medications? Because most of the people that go pew-pew in schools are on medications. Are we going to question pharma's involvement then?
The idea that you said that you were in war.
Yeah.
Did you misspeak as the campaign has said?
Yeah, I said we were talking about, in this case, this was after a school shooting, the ideas of carrying these weapons of war. And my wife, the English teacher, told me my grammar is not always correct. But again, if it's not this, it's an attack on my children for showing love for me, or it's an attack on my dog. I'm not going to do that. And the one thing I'll never do is I'll never demean another member's service in any way. I never
Is that because you know that yours is not above board?
have, and I never will.
I just, one other question, because again, this is all new.
Yeah.
I mean, this was not, however many days ago, this was not
It was kind of thrust on us, when you were installed, when Biden dropped out.
on either of your bingo cards, especially yours. You had to clarify that you had said that you and your wife used IVF, but it turned out you used a different kind of fertility in order
Who
to
cares?
have children. And then when you ran for Congress in 2006, your campaign repeatedly made false statements about a 1995 arrest for drunk and reckless driving. What do you say to voters who aren't sure whether
Oh, thanks, CNN. I hadn't heard about that one. So,
they can take you at your word?
Well, I've been very public. I think they can see my students come out, former folks I've served with, and they vouch for me. I certainly own my mistakes when I make them. The one thing I'll tell you is I wished in this country wouldn't have to do this. I spoke about our infertility issues because it's hell, and families know this. And I spoke about the treatments that were available to us that had those beautiful children there. That's quite a contrast in folks that are trying to take those rights away from us. And so I think people know who I am. They know that record. They've seen that. I've taught thousands of students. I've been out there. And I won't apologize for speaking passionately, whether it's guns in schools or protecting of reproductive rights.
it's interesting that he keeps bringing back school shootings and he keeps bringing up the kids from his classrooms. I don't know what that has to do with much of it, but okay.
Contrast could not be clearer between what we're running against. The vice president's position on this has been clear. And I think most Americans get it if you've been through that. I don't think they're cutting hairs on IVF or IUI. I think what they're cutting hairs on is an abortion ban and the ability to be able to deny families the chance to have a beautiful child.
What does an abortion ban have to do with IVF or IUI or having kids? Also, Trump has publicly stated multiple times that he would not sign a national abortion ban because he returned it to the states, which is where he thinks it belongs, as do I, because ain't in any of the amendments to the Constitution, it's not a federal power, so it should go back to the states and the people. Makes sense. How many other times does President Trump have to say, I would not sign a federal abortion ban? Project 2025 is not mine. Agenda 47 is mine. Like all these things, they just keep repeating. They're lies.
Vice President Harris, you were a very staunch defender of President Biden's capacity to serve another 4 years. Right after the debate, you insisted that President Biden is extraordinarily strong. Given where we are now, do you have any regrets about what you told the American people?
No, not at all. Not at all.
My values haven't changed. I'm still fine with lying to everybody.
I have served with President Biden for almost 4 years now, and I'll tell you, it's one of the greatest honors of my career, truly. He cares so deeply about the American people. He is so smart and
Are those just the people that rub his leg hairs or?
and loyal to the American people. And I have spent hours upon hours with him, be it in the Oval Office or the Situation Room. He has the intelligence, the commitment, and the judgment and disposition that I think the American people rightly deserve in their president.
Then why did he drop out the way that he did after clearly stating publicly just days prior that he's not going to drop out? What did you offer him?
By contrast, the former president has none of that. And so, one, I am so proud to have served as vice president to Joe Biden. And two, I am so proud to be running with Tim Walz for president of the United States and to bring America what I believe the American people deserve, which is a new way forward, and turn the page.
Again, how is it a new way forward, folks? 12 of the last 16 years, Democrats have been in power. Progressives have been marching forward towards communism since the turn of the 20th century. How is this turning a new leaf other than it's just further progress towards socialism and communism? Please tell me.
On the last decade of what I believe has been contrary to where the spirit of our country really lies.
Does she realize that when she says the last decade, that 6 out of those 10 years were under Biden-Harris and Obama-Biden? 60% of it. And she's just trashing the last decade. Maybe you should choose your words better.
The last decade, of course, the last 3.5 years has been part of your administration.
I'm talking about an era that started about a decade ago,
With the end of Obama-Biden?
where there is some suggestion, warped I believe it to be, that the measure of the strength of a leader is based on who you beat down, instead of where I believe most Americans are.
How about ending wars, keeping us out of new wars, negotiating towards peace in the Middle East? Sound like good things to me. I don't know.
Which is to believe that the true measure of the strength of a leader is based on who you lift up. That's what's at stake as much as any other detail.
You mean how the economy was better for most Americans, including almost all minorities? Like lifting them up? You don't like that? Are you mad that they were successful? Weird.
that we could discuss in this election.
Because we haven't had a chance to talk, I'm just curious, staying on President Biden, when he called you and said he was pulling out of the race, what was that like? And did he offer to endorse you right away, or did you ask for it?
I think she knew it was coming.
It was a Sunday, so here I'll give you a little too much information.
Go for it. There's no such thing, Madam Vice
Yes, there is.
President.
My family was staying with us, and including my baby nieces, and we had
Yeah, this is too much information.
just had pancakes and, Auntie, can I have more bacon? Yes, I'll make you more bacon. And then we were sitting down to do a puzzle. And the phone rang, and it was Joe Biden. And he told me what he had decided to do. And
Did he tell you why? Or did he not need to because you already knew?
I asked him, "Are you sure?" And he said yes. And that's how I learned about it.
And what about the endorsement? Did you ask for it?
And he was very clear that he was going to support me.
So when he called to tell you, he said, I'm pulling out of the race and I'm going to support you.
Well, my first thought was not about me, to be honest with you.
I don't believe you.
My first thought was about him, to be honest.
When somebody says to be honest, they're not being honest.
I think history is going to show a number of things about Joe Biden's presidency. I think history is going to show that in so many ways it was transformative,
In the wrong direction.
be it on what we have accomplished around finally investing in America's infrastructure, investing in new economies, in new industries, what we have done to bring our allies back together and have confidence in who we are as America and grow that alliance.
Really? Can someone explain that to me? I just don't see it.
What we have done to stand true to our principles, including the one of the most important international rules and norms, which is the importance of sovereignty and territorial integrity. And I think history is going to show not
Territorial integrity, like at our southern border?
only has Joe Biden led an administration that has achieved those extraordinary successes, but the character of the man.
I question what metrics they're using to measure success.
Is one that he has been in his life and career, including as a president, quite selfless and puts the American people first.
I just have to
Oh, just selflessly stayed in politics for 50 years and made his family decamillionaires. Sounds real selfless.
ask you both about two standout moments, aside, of course, from the addresses that you both gave, but standout moments that were perhaps unexpected during the convention. You mentioned one of them, Governor. A moment that you shared, that the world shared with your son, Gus. You were speaking, the camera caught him, so incredibly proud of you, so emotional, saying, "That's my dad."
Yeah, I don't know as a father I could have ever imagined that. I'm grateful for so many reasons to be on this ticket, but that moment, to understand what was really important, to have my son feel a sense of pride in me, that I was trying to do the right thing. And it was, you try and protect your kids, it brings notoriety and things, but it was just such a visceral, emotional moment that I'm grateful I got to experience it, and I'm so proud of him. I'm proud of him. I'm proud of Hope. I'm proud of Gwen. She's a wonderful mother, and these are great kids. And I think the one thing is talking about the era we're in is our politics can be better. It can be different. We can show some of these things, and we can have families involved in this. And I hope that I hope people felt that out there, and I hope they hugged
Oh, yeah, you feel the same way about Barron Trump, do you?
their kids a little tighter, because you just never know, and life can be kind of hard.
And last question, Madam Vice President, the photograph that has gone viral. You were speaking, one of your grandnieces that you were just talking
Yes.
about was watching you accept the nomination. You didn't explicitly talk about gender or race in your speech, but it obviously means a lot to a lot of people, and that
Who cares?
viral picture really says it.
Merit.
What does it mean to you?
I am running because I believe that I am the best person to do this job at this moment, for all Americans, regardless
That seems mighty narcissistic.
of race and gender. But I did see that photograph, and I was deeply touched by it. And you're right, it's the back of her head, her two little braids, and then I'm in the front of the photograph, obviously speaking. And it's very humbling. It's very humbling in many ways.
Did she talk to you about it afterwards?
Oh, she had a lot to talk about. She had a lot. She listened to everything, and she listens to everything.
Give you your hot takes?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Kids do tend to say the darndest things.
Madam Vice President, Governor Walz, thank you so much for your time. Appreciate it.
Thanks for
you.
having
Thank
us.
you, Dana. Thank you.
Okay, folks, well, there it was. I honestly didn't get a whole lot out of it, other than I feel like I know less about these candidates than I did going into it. I keep getting told that their values haven't changed and that their platform and policies are out there for everybody to see, except they're not on their website. They're not easily accessible. I don't know what they are. And they keep saying things like, oh, our administration is doing great. I don't know what your thoughts are, but for me, as a single father of two, this economy and Bidenomics is not working. It's not great. I'm really, really struggling right now. Why should I support a ticket, or why would I want to support people who think that abortion is normal, up to, like in Walz's state, birth? Why would I want to support a wide open border where you see things going on like in Aurora, Colorado, where we have a Venezuelan gang terrorizing entire apartment buildings and just taking over parts of the town, when I have a candidate that's talking about price controls that historically have caused nothing but shortages and starvation, when they talk about things like climate change? I'll even show the picture again. Sea levels have not really changed in over 130 years. What are we doing? Why would I vote for these people? Why would I vote for more war, more conflict, more death? I wouldn't. So maybe you guys can leave me a comment and change my mind. I don't know, but thank you to those of you that made it to the end of the video. I appreciate your support. If you enjoyed the video, please make sure you like it and leave a comment below. If you have a recommendation for a future video or topic for the channel, please make sure you leave it in a comment and I will get to it as soon as I can. Make sure you support the channel in any way that you can. Follow one of the links down in the description and you can participate either in Mug Deal, the Poster Deal, Coffee Brand Coffee using our promo code, or come follow us over on X or join the Discord. I look forward to seeing you around. Take care of yourselves, everyone, and God bless. Go ahead and check out one of the links on the screen now to either subscribe to the channel and see the rest of the videos of the channel, or one of the carefully selected videos that you may wish to see that YouTube has used its algorithm to select for you.